Hi everybody, welcome to Midweek. Sure hope you enjoyed last week. It was Skills Camp, and by the way, thanks so much for your support for that. Wow, 550 kids, 50 of them trusted Christ, all kinds of families touched. Unbelievable. It's a blessing to be a church for the city. So last week, they did a great report, and by the way, we have some on-site reports coming up pretty quickly for our H2O, and we're going to do some of those. Those are special. So thanks for that. A lot of people have been asking, hey, what was the outcome of the annual business meeting? Well, so last week in the newsletter and also in the bulletin, we announced, and so I'll do it here, unbelievable. 99% of people voted affirmative to our budget and to those who are serving on the committees. So by anyone's standards, that's a landslide. Thank you very much for voting. I know you think, it doesn't really matter. Yes, it does. It's so much better to have 400 or 500 people voting than 5. It's a great way to affirm, I think, our leadership in terms of our committees and those who are serving in those areas. They know the church is behind them, so it does matter, and I really appreciate you doing that. So that was pretty special stuff, 99%. This week in staff, we were talking about some things where we kind of like to start our staff meeting every week with, where do we see God working and what are some of the wins? And Pastor Leon was telling us about a community event that they had in their home where they invited some of the community members over for kind of a barbecue. It was one of the steps kind of given on Good Neighbor. Yes, we want you to sign up for that. It's online. Here's the whole schedule of what you can do. Well, why sign up? Some of you I know are just saying, well, I'm just going to be a good neighbor. Well, number one, it helps us collectively communicate to good neighbor folks. It helps us to hold ourselves accountable in terms of us as a church pursuing our goal and vision in that area. And secondly, I think it may be an accountability for you. I know when I sign up for something, there's another level of commitment to it than just like, I want to be a good neighbor. So I want to encourage you to get online and sign up for that. Pastor Leon and they were hosting, he and Lynn were hosting these families over. And he asked one of his neighbors this question. It was simply this. Tell me, where are you at on your spiritual journey? I loved that question. And I realized again, the power of a good question. I have a friend. The guy is a genius. He can ask the best questions in the world. And I love it because what a question does for a person is it lets them know, I'm interested in you. I want to hear what you're thinking. I want to hear your input. I want to encourage you to think about really good questions. I actually break mine into kind of 2 fundamental categories. I have questions for Christians and I have questions for non-Christians. What kind of questions are they? Well, number one, if it's a Christian group of people, I will ask, where are you seeing God work in your life these days? I love to ask that question. I like to just hear, what are you doing? I think another question that I love to ask, how are you refueling as a believer? What are you doing? How do you refuel your spiritual tank? How do you kind of restore things? I think another question that I like to ask a Christian, and actually sometimes my staff, is what are some of the challenges you're facing in the next 30 days? What are things that, I can be praying for? And by the way, it's absolutely the most critical thing in the world. Follow up on those. In fact, I will write it down oftentimes. This last Sunday, I know I was talking with a person and they have a challenging week. They have something towards Thursday. I just put a little notation in my calendar, call this person on Thursday. I don't always get those, but I try to. What are some of the obstacles that you're facing? And then another one that I like to ask people, what are obstacles that you're facing? They're different than challenges. What are some of the challenges you face? Or I say, what are the things that are blocking you from pursuing what you want to do? When you ask those kind of questions, people kind of come alive because what you realize is that we are a culture of opinion sharers, not a culture of asking questions. I realized I went to seminary. I went to a lot of school. I've been to more school than anyone should go to. And pretty much I came out of those not aware of this, but I came out of seminary prepared to give answers. Oftentimes to things people weren't even asking about. What I wasn't prepared is to know how to ask good questions. So I have a whole set of questions and I'm stirring them all the time. If you have good questions, you can send them to me and we'll share that I have for my Christian friends. Where do you see God working? What are the obstacles you're facing? What are challenges that I can pray for? How are you refueling? How are you stirring something in your heart? Because there's a whole lot of people I'm discovering that are running on empty. And you know what happens when you run on empty? Well, I'll tell you that story another time. I have questions also for non-Christians. And this is the one that really stirred in my heart that Leon asked. And that is simply, tell me where you're at on your spiritual journey. It's pretty non-offensive. Another question that I like is simply, this is really benign, what's exciting you these days? What's going on in your life that brings joy to you? Oh, that thing is unbelievable. It's like, man, they talk about their kids. Are they talking about something at work? Are they talking about a new hobby? And they just come alive. What are some of the things that are exciting you? I think another one, we learned this in that kind of disciple-making time where we had folks that went out and shared the gospel is, if you could give a gift to anyone in the world, what would that gift be? If you could give a gift to somebody, a gift to our city, if you could impart a gift to our city, what gift would that be? You find out a lot about what people like and what they're interested in and what they see as problems. Because oftentimes the gift, they want to solve a problem. And that's really helpful insight into that person. Back to, where do you think your life is making a difference? This sounds like kind of an invasive question, but it's really a powerful one. Where do you think your life is having the greatest impact? I find that question to be one of my favorites because people actually don't think that way. They want to make an impact, but I think a lot of people wonder if they even are making an impact. And so when you stir that question in them, it's really fun. I think another one is like, hey, what are the obstacles you're facing and how are you overcoming them? I think my point is simply this. We have a culture that wants to share their opinions on everything. Facebook, how many times have you ever looked on Facebook and somebody is posing a really good question versus they're making some kind of statement? I think one of the best ways to be a good neighbor is to ask good questions. It's to be interested in people, not giving them answers, inquiring, showing interest in them, discovering something about them. I have in my attaché case, I just was traveling this last week to our board meeting. And so naturally, yes, I'm going to be sitting on an airplane. And I don't know if you've flown recently, but let me tell you what, every air flight that I have taken recently is about 120% full. That means I'm always going to have somebody in the middle. In fact, this last flight, I jumped in the middle so that I could keep this newlywed couple together. It was pretty fun. But I got to explore with people on both sides, just learning to ask good questions. By the end of the flight, it was like friends. It was amazing. Oh, one last question that I notoriously ask. My wife doesn't like this. She actually distances from me when I'm in public and I ask this, but it's very simple, this. Hey, tell me about that tattoo. Why did you get that one? Do I ask that as frequently as I can? Why? Because think about it. Something that people are going to put permanently on their skin must mean something to them, and it's a window into their heart. You may not like that. I love it. But the best thing we can do, I think, to be good neighbors, certainly serve people and love them, but ask good questions and move yourself out of sharing an opinion to exploring and showing an interest. It's a lot of fun. You tell me about it when you see me live. Tell me about the questions you're using and tell me about the conversations that you're having. I look forward to hearing about that. This weekend, we're back into deep dive in 1 John, so keep reading. We're going to be exploring that together. We look forward to some more on-site with Thrive coming up. Be praying for that. We have a lot of transition stuff going on and students that are moving up and ministries that are launching. By the way, we have our new parenting class that's going to start tonight. Yes, it's going to be filled with all kinds of helpful information. So even if you haven't signed up, show up. It's going to be great. See you tonight if you can come. Appreciate you, love you, and we're praying for you. I hope you have a great week.